It's wonderful to have you here again, and welcome back. Here's the question. What is the hierarchy of controls in Canadian workplace safety? The hierarchy of controls is a practical way to decide how workplace hazards should be managed. It ranks control options from most effective to least effective, starting with removing the hazard whenever possible and ending with personal protective equipment when exposure cannot be fully controlled another way. This matters because real workplaces are busy. Conditions change, equipment wears down, production pressure builds, workers move between tasks, and supervisors cannot watch every hazard every minute. That is why Canadian employers should not rely only on rules, reminders, training, or PPE when stronger controls are available. Across Canada, including Alberta, British Columbia, and Saskatchewan, the hierarchy of controls supports better hazard assessments, safer job planning, stronger inspections, more effective corrective actions, and clearer compliance decisions. The standard levels are elimination, substitution, engineering controls, administrative controls, and personal protective equipment. The goal is simple: remove the hazard when you can, reduce the risk at the source, separate workers from danger, manage exposure through procedures and supervision, and use PPE as the final layer of protection. Control selection should start with the hazard, the level of risk, and the strongest practical way to reduce exposure. PPE should not be the first answer just because it is fast, visible, and easy to hand out. For airborne dust, respirators may still be required, but they should not be the only control. The employer should first ask whether the dust can be eliminated, whether a safer material or process can be used, whether ventilation or wet methods can control dust at the source, and whether exposure time can be reduced. Respiratory protection may still be part of the solution, but it should fit within a broader control system. The common mistake is treating PPE as the control instead of the final layer. A strong hierarchy of controls approach helps employers ask better questions, choose stronger controls, and define what safe enough actually means. Let's break this into 6 actionable micro tips because hazard control should start with the strongest practical option, not the fastest one. The goal is to identify the hazard, reduce exposure at the source, manage the work, verify the controls, and use PPE as the final layer. Micro tip 1. Start with the hazard. Confirm what could harm workers, where exposure may occur, who may be affected, and what conditions could increase the risk during the task. Micro tip 2. Look for elimination first. Ask whether the hazard can be removed completely. If the task material, equipment, or exposure is not necessary, redesign the work before relying on lower-level controls. Micro tip 3. Consider safer substitutions. Replace hazardous materials, tools, equipment, or processes with safer options where practical. Make sure the substitute does not create a new hazard that is just as serious. Micro tip 4. Control exposure at the source. Use engineering controls such as guards, ventilation, barriers, traffic separation, lifting devices, enclosures, or sound control to reduce worker exposure before relying on procedures. Micro tip 5. Make administrative controls specific use, clear procedures, training, permits, signage, scheduling, inspections, and supervision. Generic rules are weak unless workers understand them and supervisors verify they are followed. And micro tip 6. Use PPE as the final layer. PPE still matters, but it should not be the whole safety plan. Select, fit, inspect, train, and maintain PPE as part of a broader control system. For practical support with hazard assessments, control selection, safe work practices, supervisor training, corrective action tracking, and core or C-Core preparation, visit calgarysafetyconsultants.ca and reach out. We help employers build clear hazard control systems. We can review current hazard assessments, identify PPE-only controls, strengthen engineering and administrative controls, improve inspection forms, support worker training, prepare for audits, and close compliance gaps before weak controls lead to injuries, claims, orders, or failed audit results.